better future for our country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to just raise again the concern. We've heard stories that represent some of the millions of Canadians that are right now falling through the cracks who cannot access the CERB. We've heard of people who've got multiple jobs, who've lost a lot of that work but still get some income, freelance and contract workers, artists, self-employed. While the government has committed, and I'm encouraged by that, to fixing those gaps, will the Prime Minister just today stand up and say that if anyone needs help, they should just apply while the government is fixing the gaps in the system, but people who need help should just apply right now?
Honourable Prime Minister.
The immediate urgency in this situation was making sure that people across the country who were reliant on paychecks to be able to pay their groceries and pay their rent, paychecks that suddenly disappeared because of COVID-19, get money quickly. That's what we did with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, and I want to take a moment to thank the extraordinary public servants at Revenue Canada, but across ministries and departments who worked incredibly hard to create a model that would get money out quickly to millions of Canadians. We, of course, recognize there are gaps and are working with all parliamentarians to fill those gaps because people who need help should be getting it.
Member for Burnaby South.
Will the Prime Minister just say today really clearly that if you need help, you can apply right now for the CERB while the government fixes the gaps? But will the Prime Minister just say very clearly to all Canadians, if you need help, apply now while the government fixes the problems?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we created a program that is helping millions upon millions of Canadians who've lost their paychecks because of COVID-19. We've moved forward with another program that we're debating here today on wage subsidies for people so they can keep their jobs, keep their paychecks at 75% subsidy from the government. That will keep people linked to their employment. But we recognize there are other people in different situations who also need help. Students, seniors, part-time workers, essential workers who need extra help to keep in their jobs, and that is what we are focused on right now with tremendous collaboration from all parliamentarians.
Member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, credit unions some of them have recently waived interest rates entirely. 0% interest rates is what they're charging on their credit cards, while banks are still charging astronomical interest rates. The 6 big banks in Canada, BMO, CIBC, National Bank, RBC, Scotiabank, and TD, reported more than $46.5 billion in profits last year. Will the government, will the Prime Minister, use the federal powers to force those banks to waive interest rates entirely during this crisis?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance has been closely engaged with the banks over these past weeks. We've seen strong movement by the banks in terms of helping people who are particularly hard hit financially because of COVID-19. They've agreed to help us administer the small business loan. We know that there is more that the banks can do, and we've been working with banks and credit unions to make sure that they do more to recognize that the way we support Canadians through this situation will ensure that we come out of this situation in the best possible shape, all of us.
Member for Burnaby South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, during the 2008 financial crisis, we saw bailouts that effectively bailed out corporations who then took the money, left Canada, and left workers high and dry. Workers lost their jobs while those companies, those corporations took billions of dollars from Canada. Will the government ensure that we're going to prohibit any CEO bonuses and stock buybacks, and the companies that receive government subsidies or bailouts, that money goes towards workers, that with strings attached to keeping people employed, not enriching the corporation or the shareholders or the executives, but it goes with strings attached to workers directly?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize the challenges in crises past that had some of the impacts that the member opposite has talked about. That is why we made sure that the big measures we put forward are entirely focused on Canadians, on workers. The Canada Emergency Response Benefit helps people who've lost their job because of COVID-19. The wage subsidy makes sure that people are staying connected to their jobs, even though they can't get paid by their employer anymore, because the government will pay them up to 75% of their salary, so that when this is through, Canadians will still have connection to those jobs and our economy can get going again. Everything we've done has been focused first and foremost on Canadians and not on corporations as a nebulous entity.
The honourable member for Carleton.
Thank you. Yes or no question?